Hello, I'm Sally Getchell, and I'm a member of the historic Carversville Society. I've enjoyed Carversville, the delightful village, and the interesting people for over 30 years. Today is May 2nd, 2018, and I am in the studio of potter, painter, and mixed media artist Nan Kirstein. Nan has spent most of her life in Carversville. She has agreed to share experiences and memories of the village through the years. Nan, I'm looking forward to hearing your input. Let's start with your background. Where were your parents and grandparents from?
My grandparents originally were from Poland, and they came here at the turn of the 1900s. They settled in Philadelphia, and my grandfather was a contractor. He was very successful at being a contractor, and he thought he was set for life, but it didn't work out that way. The Great Depression depressed him. And he was out of a nice contracting business. With little money left over, they found this lovely little farm just outside of Carversville on Carversville Road, off of Carversville Road, now known as Pawnacussing Creek Road. They decided they would raise chickens. So they had a successful little chicken farm, and also had their youngest son with them because he was still in high school, and everybody knows my Uncle Ray Najinsky. So that was already established as a farm and working well. Then my parents had problems, so they got a divorce, and my mother had to work, so I was left in the charge of my grandparents, which was wonderful because they were great grandparents. Of course, they didn't speak much English, so I only knew the Polish language. When I was old enough to go to school, actually before I was old enough to go to school, my mother somehow arranged the school, the little school at Sawmill and Aquitaine Road, to take me in at the age of 4, mainly so I could learn to speak English. I don't know how the other kids felt about me. I can't remember, but I had a wonderful teacher. Her name was Miss Cathers. And by the time I was in kindergarten, I could speak pretty well. So, and then I didn't have very many friends. It's, in those days they didn't have play dates, and they didn't have mothers that they could take you in a car and take you over to somebody's house or this and that. You had to fend for yourself. So my playmates were mostly the animals on the farm, mostly chickens, and the cow, and the horse, and the cats. Oh, there used a lot of cats. Those were my playmates. As I got older, I did develop a few friends on other farms. At that time, there were just farms in this area. No developments, no houses that sat by themselves, just farmland, wonderful farmland. I did develop a few friends as I got older, and unfortunately I had to move away because my mother remarried, so for a period I was living in Camden, New Jersey. But I still came back here, so I had my friend Annika, and previous to that, before I moved, there was Pauline Bartleman. She was one of my really first friends, and that was at the Unity Frankfurt store, which is now Howard Barsky's office. Things I remember about the square, the funny gasoline pumps that they had in those days for the cars, where they used a crank to get the gasoline up into a glass container, and then it was gravitated into the car's gas tank. Much easier today. remember also that the inn wasn't an inn at that time. It had a bar, and it had a sort of grocery store on the other side. It's very hard to remember these things. I know that that Max Hansen's place was a automobile repair. And in the middle of the square, there was a huge water pump made of wood. I don't know what they used it for, but that's what I remember about the square. And got another question for me?
Did you go to church in the area?
Oh, well, actually I went to, my family's Catholic, so we had a wonderful neighbor, an artist, Harold Bowler. He would take me to church on Sundays in Doylestown. And then I wasn't too thrilled about what was going on. I didn't understand what was going on, but I really enjoyed after Mass to come back home and to run down to the Vogelsang people, that family, and they would take me to the CARVERSVILLE church for Sunday school, and that was a lot of fun. I loved that. I think I learned more about religion down there than I did anywhere else. Lots of fun.
And who was encouraging you in the art area? When did you first find interest in that?
Well, yes, I did a lot of walking because there was no one to take me anywhere, so I would walk from farm to farm to see some friends or even adult people that tolerated this twerp that would come visiting. And of course, I got my allowance, and I'd have to walk down to the CARVERSVILLE store to get a goodie or two. But on the way, there's the schoolhouse that on CARVERSVILLE Road that was no longer a schoolhouse but a studio for Charlie Ward. And we'd love to sneak up on the porch when he was painting and kind of watch him once in a while. He didn't know I was there. I'm glad he was concentrating so I didn't know. But I was fascinated that someone can do this kind of work. So then I naturally used every scrap of paper I could find to do something on. Pencil and paper, that was my first media. And I was bitten, that's it. I knew I was going to be an artist. So, and fortunately Harold Bowler was kind enough to see that maybe I had a little bit of talent, and he guided me, and I got to art school because of him. I think that he was my big inspiration.
And where did you go to art school
Well,
after you graduated high school?
It was known as the Philadelphia Museum School of Art when I went there, and now it's the University of the Arts. It really grew over the years, so I'm very happy to have been to such a wonderful school. I studied illustration. I was going to be an illustrator for children's books. I had a portfolio. It never happened, unfortunately. Or fortunately, because later on in life, after I'd been married for a few years, and the children had, I have a son and a daughter. They both were grown and gone, so I took a liking in clay. And I built myself a little clay business, mostly self-taught, but still painting now and then. And what?
Which of the local artists have you gotten to know through the...
Oh, well, of course, Harold from the beginning. And, you know, it's been so long ago. I'm no youngster. I knew a few people, but primarily the people I know are the ones that are around today. And there are many of them. Too many to mention.
And where did you meet Carl?
I met my husband at in art school, and I got married before I graduated art school, so that's why my career didn't take the way that I wanted it to. But I'm satisfied, and I'm very happy that I was able to come back to the area and build this little studio here and show my wares.
When did you move back to Carversville?
We lived in Barnesboro.
Can I say something? I remember a picture that you had done of a bunch of artists in Rosemont Cafe.
Oh,
Is that at a later point or around this time?
yes, this was after '83. This was done, that painting was done in about, I'd say 2005.
Uh-huh.
It's a wonderful painting.
There are only 3 of us left on that painting. There were 8, and now it's just Tom Block, Tony Coolish, and myself. Everyone is gone. So I've hung it in my dining room. I was going to sell it years ago, but it has become so much a part of me now that it's mine.
It belongs here, yes. So do you have any special memories of events or things that were in the village?
Well, hey, Carversville Day is a big event. I love Carversville Day, and I love making the cookie jar for Carversville Day. That's been a lot of fun, over the years. Each year I try to make something a little different, so nothing the same twice,
Thank you, Nan. I think I can't think of any other questions.